Hi everyone, thanks for signing up for our first virtual open day and for letting us know that you're interested in finding out more about our science and social science subjects. My name's Kirsten, I'm a member of the marketing team at the college, and I'm here today with my colleagues Margaret and Linda to tell you more about these subject areas. So I'll just pass over to them to introduce themselves. So Margaret, would you like to go first?
Hello there, my name is Margaret Stafford and I'm one of the science lecturers, so I teach chemistry, biology and anything scientific.
That's great, and Linda?
Hi, I'm Linda Corrin-Bocas. I'm a member of the social science team and I teach primarily sociology, anthropology and various other bits and pieces of social science.
That's great, thank you. So we'll just go into the presentations that you've prepared to cover a bit of your subject areas, and then we'll cover some of the questions off at the end of each of those sections. So I'll just pass to you first, Margaret.
I'm Margaret Stafford, I'm one of the science team at West Lothian College, and I'm going to tell you a wee bit about 4 different courses. The courses are HNC Applied Sciences and the NC Access to Biological Sciences, both of which I teach on. And the other 2 courses I'm going to tell you a wee bit about are the NC Science and Social Science and the Foundation Apprenticeship. So I'll start with the HNC Applied Sciences. So this is one of my favourite courses. I teach chemistry on the course and I teach lab skills and biochemistry as well. So I've got a nice set of lectures and labs that go with all of them. But the course also includes things like cell biology and microbiology, and you get a bit of maths for science with statistics. It's a really fun course. There's loads and loads of practicals with it, so you become very skilled at aseptic techniques in microbiology, and you become incredibly skilled at doing assays in the chemistry part of the course. The biggest part of this course is the graded unit. Well, graded unit is a great opportunity for students to go on and do a bit of research on their own and interpret and analyse that research in terms of the work that is out there in the scientific community. And you get to present that throughout the year, and that is generally what is the biggest grade for your access to university. Some universities allow access to year 1 with an A band for that, and others require entry into year 2 with an A band. I'm going to be preparing a wee pack for folk that are joining the course. They'll be available from the 19th of June. And I should tell you that during this, the HNC Applied Sciences, you get a really good experience at a placement. So we have great industrial placement contacts, including places that are really large pharmaceutical companies. And finally, I should tell you that the timetable is quite flexible. Generally, it's 3 days a week, Monday to Wednesday. It has been the years previous, and it gives you lots of time on Thursday and Friday to keep up to date and to study and stuff. Okay, so the HNC has got lots of regression routes and opens lots of doors for you. Some folk go straight to work, so they go to labs or pharmaceutical companies. Others go on to do an HND, and there's opportunities between labs and the HND. We've got some students that come directly from companies to do the HNC at the college, and then go on and do an HND at another college before going to uni. We've also got the general going the degree route. Now, most universities, especially the old universities, will only give entry into year 1 with an HNC. But some of the younger universities like Napier and Queen Margaret, GCU, all give entry into year 2 with an A or a B in your graded unit. Across the board, universities will give entry into year 1 if you've got a B or C. And just like I say, the older universities like Edinburgh will only give entry into year 1. But it's very individual for each university, so that's always worth checking out. So here are some of the jobs that HNC Applied Scientists go on to do. Some go on and they become paramedics. Some go on to work in microbiology, oncology. We've got folk go on to midwifery or nutrition and become home economic teachers. And the healthcare professions like occupational therapy physiotherapy and speech therapy are very common for our students to go on to. But a right diversity, and I think one of the most up and coming ones is going into environmental sciences and things like marine biology. And we've had a student accepted at St Andrews University from the HNC this year. So I'm now going to tell you about our SWAP course. SWAP is a widening access programme. And our Access to Biological Sciences is a super course. So it's generally aimed at folk who have been out of education for 3 years with no formal qualifications or no hires, or folk who have been out of education for 5 years and they have hires. And that is often a very diverse group of individuals. Some young people from about 20 all the way up to people as old as me come onto these courses for a new start, a wee change of career, and exciting opportunities. So this is my favourite course, which is dreadful to say, but I do have a favourite course. So the SWAP courses, I just love the students on the courses. They come from all different backgrounds, and it's always a right diverse group of people, and they just love learning. They just put everything into learning. Their SWAP courses are fantastic. We are very, very lucky at the college in that we've got 97% of our students that progressed to university in 2018 completed their first year. Now that's a really big thing. That's the best in the country. Quite a busy timetable: chemistry, biology, microbiology, maths, ICT and communication. So you leave with your higher English at the end of this course, and there's opportunities to sit the level 5 maths exam as well. But this is a course that is a lot of work, but it's so worth doing. It's a fantastic course. Busy timetables I've written in the middle there. Busy timetables means you're generally in about, I think it's 8 sessions in the first block, and sessions are 9 to 12 or 1 to 4. And then you do 7 sessions, the second block, and 6, the third block. So it's quite a busy timetable, lots and lots to do, but really exciting, and lots of lab work. So this is some of the progression routes for Access to Bio, and they're more or less the same as the HNC group. There's a couple of wee additional things, and it's one I want to bring your attention to most is the access to medicine. So this is something that students have never had in the past, and through lots of work with myself and other SWAP tutors, we've managed to get an access to medicine for this biological science course. So you can go on and do Access to Medicine at Edinburgh College or Glasgow College, and then go on and do a 5-year medical course, which is kind of, last year was the first time it ran, but it's quite exciting for our students. And we had 1 student joined last year, and we've got 2 going this year, which is quite nice. So some of the careers for Access to Bio include, again, it's similar to the HNC Applied Science. So there's Access to Medicine I've got up there, paramedics, speech therapy, animal biology. Lots of folk like to go on and become technicians for a wee while before going to university as well, so that's another route from this course. But traditionally folk will go to healthcare professions like speech and language therapists, occupational therapists, paramedics, and also lots of folk go on and do biological sciences and all the diversities that come from that, including oncology, virology, microbiology, so it's a whole range of things. So I'll now tell you a wee bit about our science and social science course. So this is another exciting course that gives students the options to go into either social science or science. Some of the course subjects are fascinating, like psychology and sociology, and even forensics and criminology come into it. So it's a really exciting wee course, that. And then there's chemistry, which is a great foundation for getting onto the HNC Applied Sciences. And there's maths, ICT and communication skills that are critical for all teaching, of course, and all forward university places. Again, I'll make learning packs available for students from the 19th of June. And this course is linked to some nice labs that students get to do. So they get to look at fingerprints and how individuals can be identified through their fingerprints, and even looking at how we can extract DNA and identify a definite individual that may have been at a crime scene. We've got these quite fun, cool criminal investigation kits where you have to find out who killed Johnny, which is quite nice. But the science and social science subjects are very strongly associating social behaviour and the brain, how the brain works. And there's lots and lots of fantastic discussions take place in these classes by folk like Linda Corumbokas, who'll have you all really encaptured by her lessons, and she'll cover things like nature versus nurture and really kind of get you thinking about things that most of us on a daily basis don't do. The other key thing about the science and social sciences, folk get to do this psychology research project, and that is like looking at how do you research the psychology of individuals, and that is quite an exciting thing to do. But you go onto the website, there's lots more information than I can give you here. Progression routes are really exciting for this course. So the key to next stage courses that you can apply for would be an HNC Applied Science or an HNC in Social Science. And sometimes folk go straight from the NC to work, and sometimes folk go to a lab or a health situation where they then progress and come back and do further training at the college. But you can see again the kind of network of steps towards university are there and very clear. So that's an exciting wee course, and lots of fantastic jobs. Some folk go into social science research. That's big just now, excuse me. Some folk become teachers or social workers. Others go into community education, legal careers, civil services, a whole range of careers associated with the social sciences. And again, the website would give you a wee bit more information on them. The final topic I'm going to discuss is the foundation apprenticeships. So these are fantastic apprenticeships that are really, they're looking at S4, S5, S6 students, and they're looking to link qualifications with work. And it's interesting to note that these subjects come under the STEM umbrella, and around 42% of the companies that have been interviewed over the past 5 years have said that they really find it hard to recruit staff in the STEM areas. So this qualification is a brilliant link between school and the work environment. The progression schools, the schools that take part in this NPA award are listed below: James Young, Armadale and Lithgow and Inveralmond Community High School. So there's information on their website in detail of what you would get from this course. Here is a wee list of progression routes, similar to the others. This feeds perfectly into the HNC Applied Sciences, but also feeds into other apprenticeships like the modern and graduate apprenticeships. Lots of students who do this, because you get very specific work experience, go on and do work as a result of this course. And finally, the final slide I've got is just a whole list of careers that can come out of doing this foundation apprenticeship, primarily in a scientific role. So lab-based work is a really big one, research and development. Some folk go into forensics, and others choose engineering or data analysis. A whole range of exciting careers comes from the foundation apprenticeship course. And my final slide is, do you have any questions?
That's great, thanks Margaret. So I'll ask you some of the questions that people have submitted when they signed up. So the first one is, do I need to buy any special equipment or clothing before I start the course?
No, all lab equipment and all PPE are given. So we give gloves, lab coats, goggles, all the safety equipment. So no, you don't need to buy anything.
That's great. And you mentioned quite a lot about practical and lab work, but what's the kind of split between practical and theory for the science courses usually?
For each course it's different. For each unit it's different, but there is some that you are, maybe half the lesson is theory and half is labs. I would say that probably some of them you're 70% labs. There's one that's lab skills for science industries, and that is probably 70%. You're doing just lab-based work. Now, when I say lab-based work, it's not it's everything that is connected to the lab, including things like learning how to interpret data. So you're doing data analysis as part of your lab skills, and you're also doing lots of wet lab work, and doing things like presentations, making presentations, giving an oral presentation, doing lab skill write-ups and lab report write-ups and stuff like that. So it's quite varied. All of that comes under the umbrella of lab work. So it's quite heavy. I would say 50% overall the full course is lab-based study.
That's great. And you mentioned learning packs being available. So what do people need to do or read to prepare for starting their course? So
as a science team, we're making up starter packs for all of the courses in science. So if it's the HNC, for instance, we'll provide some lectures for this, lectures available for before the students start, and we'll provide things like tutorial type things where you give information and ask questions. So we're currently preparing that material, so it's not complete yet, but we hope to provide students with just in case they feel a wee bit nervous about what level is it going, what level is level 7, you know, so that then they'll get an idea, they'll be able to have experience of that before they start, so it's not a shock. And we'll do that for all the courses. You know, for the access to biological science, we'll provide a wee bit of information and some wee quizzes that go with the main course content, like chemistry, biology are the two key ones that we'll cover, and we'll do the same for social science and the foundation apprenticeship. So just a wee bit of prep before coming, you know, not heavy stuff, just a wee light-hearted, here's some exciting science to learn.
No, that's great, thank you. So that's all the science-based questions, so thank you for running us through the overview of that. So we can now pass to Linda, who's going to talk a bit more about social sciences.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Social Sciences Department at West Lothian College. I'm just going to talk you through short session really to talk you through the two different social sciences programs that run here, in that they are fully social science as opposed to some of the others that are combined with other things. Level 5 Chem Sciences, for example, and Level 6 Science and Social Science. So these are the two purely social science options. I'll give you an overview of each course and then answer any questions. I think there's a few questions that have come in about each, so I'll do that at the end. So first I'll talk you through the HNC, which stands for Higher National Certificate. This is a Level 7 programme, which is usually the equivalent of a first year at university. There are 7 subjects studied across the year, but 15 credits all in, so some subjects have more than 1 credit. And at the tail end of the year, if 15 credits are completed, that gives enough credit points for some universities to accept second year university entry rather than having to repeat that first year again, although most students tend to opt for the first year option, just to clarify what it is that they're going to do. There are 2 different HNC social sciences groups every year, so usually around about 50 students. And the way that lessons work is that there are 5 lessons every week for the 3 blocks of the year which run, and I've explained them there. They run from August to November, then November to about March, and then March to June. And by the second week in June, usually the year is complete. I've given details of the breaks there for those of you that have childcare commitments, so that you can see most of our holidays match up with the college's holidays, so the school holidays locally, so that makes it a lot easier to manage. There are 3 main topics that are covered in HNC Social Sciences, in that they run for the entire year and are in the final exam paper, which I'll talk about shortly. The first of the subjects, and probably the most popular, is psychology. It's important at this point to probably say that people come to psychology and social sciences generally feeling sometimes that they might get a better insight into their own life or their own experiences, but seldom is that the case. What you do tend to do is leave with a whole bunch more questions than you started with. So Freud is probably one of the best known psychologists out there, although he's not out there anymore, he's been dead for a long time. However, his theories are really quite interesting, quite controversial in many ways, but have stood the test of time and are applied in a lot of psychotherapy and other therapeutical interventions. So Freud is definitely somebody that is looked at as a kind of key figure within the history of psychology, and various other theories besides, including much more modern and up-to-date viewpoints. So it wouldn't be right to talk about psychology without mentioning him, I feel. One of the other topics that goes right through the year is sociology, which is one that I deliver on. Now, sociology is a little bit more complex in that people tend to come to the course not really understanding what it is. So the dude on the bottom right-hand side of the screen there is a guy called Karl Marx. And he, again, is one of the historical figures in sociology, as Freud was in psychology. And his tenet really was to investigate whether or not the social struggles that people have can be blamed, I suppose, on the people who are at the top making all the decisions. So there's a lot of study into his views and other views, feminists, for example, other more modern theorists that are looking at whether or not we have to really look at an individual behaviour rather than assuming that everything can be discussed in terms of the influences upon us as a society. So sociology runs throughout the whole year, as does psychology, but sociology is mandatory. All the sociology units have to be completed in order for the HNC to be awarded. And I'll explain the kind of mandatory optional thing shortly. The third of the three subjects that goes all through the year, that means all three blocks, is philosophy. And this guy here is a dude called Plato, one of Aristotle's finest students, and essentially very few philosophy courses at university or even at college, even at lower levels, would run without some kind of discussion of what Plato thought of things, and how it is that we know we're alive. There's a whole bunch of other things that are discussed in philosophy, like whether or not we have free will to choose our destiny, or whether or not things are forced upon us by things around us. So the common theme running through all three of these subjects is this idea of whether or not we are autonomous and have control over what we do, or whether or not we are essentially managed by the social structures around us. So anyone that's thought too much about anything would enjoy philosophy, or maybe not enjoy philosophy. It's often a Marmite kind of subject, but personally I think it's fantastic. In addition to those three core subjects that run all through the year are some other units that are, they're not optional in that you don't have to do them if you don't want to, but they're not mandatory in order for the HNC to be awarded. SQA are very clear in certain units having to be completed in order to receive the award, and then some of the other units are optional in that we can select which ones we have available to study. And often that's as simple as the staff that we have available, and other times it's a choice of students. So we have a research and methodology core unit, which talks about why research is important, why methodology is important, the different ways of investigating something, and also how to, as with the science courses, how to analyse data that you manage to put together from some of the investigations you might do as a psychologist or sociologist, for example. There's some personal development planning, which is usually when students start to put together their applications for university, and also just plan ahead. Maybe there's some skills they have to develop, maybe in terms of referencing or some other academic skills, or it could be a little bit more about organisation. Maybe you have other commitments and priorities that you need to try and manage alongside your study. So that can be quite a good starting point for getting to university as well. One group of the two do history and the other do politics. The history unit is Scottish history. I think it's not my strong point, but I believe it's Scottish history. And the politics unit is much more about political philosophy. So what maybe you could count as democracy, for example. We supposedly live in one, does it work, and what are the problems with it, and the different types of democracy around the world. And finally, and one of the most popular of all, is the criminology double credit unit. Now by that I mean it's worth 2 credits in the programme, and it also runs for 2 blocks of the year. So criminology is, this is actually an HND level unit, but it covers everything about the nature nurture debate and the Scottish justice system as well. So talk through how it is what causes criminality. Is it something we're born with, or is it something that happens to us through our experiences? And look a little bit at the different psychological and sociological reasons that are provided for criminal behaviour. So that's very popular, and really criminology and psychology are the reason most people end up on this programme. However, we do have a lot of historians and potential politicians or people wanting to work in local government or whatnot as well. But primarily, it's criminologists and psychologists, or aspiring ones anyway. That shouldn't put you off though, if that's not your plan and you're looking to do something a lot more along the lines of social policy and getting involved in making decisions that will change people's lives, which is what social science is all about. What matters at the very end in terms of getting you to university though is an examination. This is normally a 3-hour examination, and it has one mandatory question on research and methodology and 2 optional questions. Those 2 optional questions are from a choice of 3, which are the 3 subjects I mentioned earlier: sociology, psychology and philosophy. Whatever you get in that exam in terms of a result is the thing that is given as a condition from university to enter. And as with a lot of the other HNCs or applied science included, having some extra credits there means that some universities accept second year application rather than having to do a level 7 year one again. We also have an associate programme with Queen Margaret University and some others that are under development to allow people to be Queen Margaret University students, for example, but attend college for the first year and then automatically, assuming that they pass the course, just go straight to second year at Queen Margaret when they're finished here. It's very popular. Most of the students, almost all the years I've been delivering on this, which is a significant number, have gone to university, stuck at it and done incredibly well. And it's lovely to hear the stories later of graduations and things too. And a lot of students come back to talk to current students about their experiences and give them some advice and kind of G them along a little bit, which is great. To enter, this is on the website, but the entry criteria is generally 2 hires at grade B. One of them must be English, and the reason for that is this course has no practical element in that it's entirely theoretical. The only practical stuff you're doing, I guess, is drawing up some charts from data that you collect. So there's a lot of writing, report writing, essay writing, and we have other means of assessing, but that's why English is so important, to make sure that you can cope with the volume of writing that's involved. The second of the hires we asked to be relevant to social sciences. So you might not have done social science before, but if you've done modern studies, for example, there's elements of sociology and politics in there, for example, or you might be more specifically having studied higher politics or one of those others as they're listed there. If though, you've not been at school for a while, and I mean a long time in some cases, perhaps the SWAP programme might be better for you. So I'm just going to explain that as a final course option for you. The SWAP, Scottish Wider Access Programme, is a fantastic resource and not advertised widely enough, I feel. What it's designed for is for people who have had other commitments, have done other things and never really, maybe just hadn't made a decision yet and are returning to education in later life. And by that, I mean it could be early 20s, but we've had students, a lot of students in the last couple of years in their 50s, looking for a change of career or from circumstance have had to consider something new. It is very heavy in terms of time commitment. There are 20 credits on the programme as opposed to even the 15 of the HNC and even the 12 to 14 of normal full-time courses. So it's quite a lot of commitment here, but hugely rewarding. And as the science department is just beside us, we've had the same results this year. It's been fantastic that almost all students from 2 years ago, this is the latest data that we have, successfully completed their first year at university following this programme. So just to go through it very briefly, it's certainly one of my favourite courses in the world, really. I wish I could sign everyone up for it. There are as many, in fact there are more options in terms of subjects for the SWAP programme. One thing that is required because of the routes out of it, some people come to be social workers, some people come to go on to do psychology or be therapists, and others might want to do teaching. This is different from the Access to Teaching programme, which is designed for primary school teachers, but some from our programmes end up going into high school or sometimes further ed lecturing. So National 5 Maths is a requirement to gain access to those degree programmes, which is why it's on our course. We will have, it's hoped, different options for those who realise they don't need the examination, but they will still be mathematical in nature, so maths for science and a statistics unit as well. To be eligible for SWAP, as Margaret said, it's exactly the same eligibility criteria. You need to have been out of education for either 3 or 5 years, depending on what your last level of what award has been. So level 5, which is currently called National 5, but has been called Intermediate 2. Before that was Standard Grade. Prior to that, low grades, and before that was O levels. If that's where you've been, then you would be eligible as long as you didn't achieve those within the last 3 years. And for level 6, which is higher, which to my knowledge has pretty much always been called higher, or OLE level, I suppose, you have to have been 5 years out of education with a qualification like that already. The aim of this is to update your skills and get you ready for university. And as you can see from the statistics, most of our students do incredibly well and do feel ready when they get there. They might not feel it till they get there, but once they get there, they realise that they've been prepared for it. As well as the programme itself and entry to uni, we also have a level 6 award in social sciences that 12 of the credits qualify you for. So that's awarded at the end of the year, as well as the units that are completed. Here are all the different things that you get to do, and some people are more minded to do one thing than another. All are necessary, but there'll be different levels of engagement with different things. They give a bit of an indication as well as to the breadth of interest of our students, because the reason there are so many different things here is because feedback from students every year is, I would have liked to have seen a bit of this, I would have liked to have seen a bit of that, and we do take that on board with things. Psychology and sociology are core to any social science programme, whichever college or university you were interested in. So all 3 higher psychology units are undertaken. And that's social psychology in terms of group behaviour, individual psychology, which is much more about the brain process of information and the cognitive elements of that, and then behaviour comes back out the other side, and some research. The sociology units that we look at are human society generally, looking at theory, and a little bit about some social issues. So this year the social issues we looked at were crime and deviance. I'll link into forensic psychology, which is also there, and social class, linking back to Marx again. The philosophy unit teaches you how to argue well and never lose an argument. You might not win it, but you won't lose it, and that's always handy. And the RMPS unit that we've chosen to include here is about morality and belief, and how people can look at things differently depending on where they're from. History is Scottish history. The social anthropology unit is similar to sociology and the morality thing in terms of looking at culture and what anthropology is anyway, and who does it, how you do it. That's the title of the unit. And the communications and literature combination give you what the universities accept via SWAP to be an equivalent of higher English at grade C. So the communications is a double credit and includes a whole bunch of things like presentations and how to put a report together, and how to look at a piece of writing and understand what it is that it's intended for, or what you're supposed to take from it. And the literature unit is, I guess, a little bit more like English, where you're looking at writing and trying to make some sense of it. IT is fairly straightforward. The forensic psychology unit is very popular, looking at what makes a criminal, a little bit about the justice system, and then there's an opportunity to do a report on the extraordinary criminal of your choice. So we've had some really interesting reports over the years on that. Maths I mentioned already. And then there's a couple of units that are preparing you for moving on to university, because for the most part, everyone gets to uni, does very well, but the extra skills that are needed, especially if you've been out of education for a while, are incredibly valuable. What matters at the end is what's called a profile grading. So rather than sitting a final exam, as the HNCs have to do, you are expected to stick in, and at the end of the year, each lecturer for each subject will grade you on your academic abilities. So your ability to understand, to comprehend, to analyse and to evaluate different elements of what you've learned about it. You don't have to agree with any of it, by the way. You just have to be able to say what you think of it, or what other people might think of it. And those grades are averaged across the 20 credits, or at least the 18 credits. And you're given a profile grade that consists of 3 letters, and each of those letters refers to a different type of academic ability. Those are the things that you're given as a condition for university, and there are a whole bunch of routes out of the SWAP programme. Although it says access to social science, it's access to everything: teaching, history. We have somebody going into archaeology this year, and someone else looking to do landscape architecture. So it's very varied. So maybe the SWAP access to social science is a bit too specific. However, because of circumstances, sometimes people feel it's best for them to spend a little bit more time at college. Sometimes it's just the practicalities of travel to university, so they stay and do the HNC, as I spoke about before, and then go to university after that. The SWAP grading still stands and has some influence over applications for HNC, and often people have been made, depending on their ability at SWAP, have been made unconditional offers when they've been on the HNC programme. Not always, but sometimes. But yeah, it's hugely important. It's very, very valuable in terms of allowing people a second chance, sometimes a third chance, to get back to education and maybe try what it was that they didn't get a chance to do earlier in life for whatever reason. I can't speak highly enough of it. So that's all I had to really say, other than preparation for SWAP, particularly the maths, means that normally we would hold a summer school where students would come in. This applies to the science, SWAP access to biological sciences and SWAP access to teaching options, as well as maybe some others. We would normally have you in for a week of National 4 maths to get the brain working again with numbers. That practically is going to be difficult this year, but I believe the maths lecturer is going to be preparing some National 4 work to get you ready for the National 5 requirements at the beginning of the academic year. So I can't speak highly enough about SWAP or the HNC. Actually, it's very successful, and we only used to run one HNC course, and now there are 2 because it's been so popular and done so well. So slightly biased I am, but our social science department, I think, is pretty good. So and some great brains within the department to share their knowledge and experience with and help you through. So I think there may be some questions, so I'll move on to those now.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for talking us through that, Linda. So just a couple of questions. You covered a lot of it during the presentation, so it might just be a case of just expanding on a couple of things. So one of the questions was, what kind of jobs or study have people gone on to do after social sciences?
Sure, I mean, I've mentioned a couple of options there that SWAP access to social science students have undertaken. For the most part, people go on to university, so it's very difficult to know where they end up thereafter. However, there are many routes back out even after university. Social science is essentially the study of people, either individually or in groups, or as a society or as a culture. So anything involving people, social sciences is relevant too. So it might be working in local government, it might be working in national government, it might be a social work position, community education, teaching, police work. A lot of people on the HNC have ended up going on to be police officers in some way or another. Anything really that requires investigation of people is something that is relevant from the social science.
That's great. And you did talk about the number of lessons per week, but how many days per week roughly will a full-time student be in?
Okay, well, it depends on the course. The HNC is 2.5 days a week. Now, that's not necessarily 2 full days and 1.5 day. It might be split over 3 days, but there is a tendency not to be in more than three different days, with the odd exception. But you would receive timetables come out in early August, mid-August. So you would have an idea before you started which days you would be required to be present. The SWAP programme is very different though, because it essentially runs, again, like with their Access to Bioscience programme, a lot of the work is pushed to the start of the year to get a lot of it out of the way and get people ready for maths exams if they need it, for example. So it's not unreasonable that you might be present in college, or however that's going to be and take into the form every single day, but some of those days will be half days. So you would never be expected to be in 9 till 4 Monday to Friday, but maybe 3 of those days would be full days and 2 half days. And then that kind of reduces as the year goes on. So for example, this year, the final block of the year, the students only had to be in 3 half days a week. And we tried to put 2 of those together to make 1.5 days overall. So it allows a little bit more scope for study, but also for other priorities, which many students have, childcare commitments, working, and other caring commitments. So I think I would say the SWAP programme demands much more in terms of time than the HNC, but full time is never ever 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, in either case.
That's great, thank you. So that's all the questions that we have for you. So thank you for answering those and for talking us through social science.
Right.
So hopefully that's answered all the questions that you have, but if you have any more questions, you can contact us at any time by emailing marketing@west-lothian.ac.uk or by contacting us on our social media channels, so Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll get back to you. So thanks very much for joining us, and thank you to Linda and Margaret as well. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.